Okay, so here we go again. It has been a couple months, I think, before I put out a vacuum video, and this is probably one of the best vacuums corded that I have ever personally used. This is the original Shark corded vacuum that is still being sold today. I went to Home Depot. I get to go to Home Depot. I got to go about 40 minutes away, and they still have these on the shelves. So I believe Shark is still manufacturing these as a entry-level, basically, vacuum. But I have personally used this vacuum for over 5 years. Hands down, it's durable, it works extremely well, and it's really easy to clean. I have never done an actual disassembly and deep cleaning of this vacuum for my employer. So I'm actually gonna more than likely turn this back in to the employer because I went ahead and I've got Dyson cordless vacuums at almost all my buildings now. But that are mine, it just makes my job easier, you know, it's just easier for me. So we're gonna go ahead and do a deep cleaning on this, and then I'll probably disassemble the head, which actually looks a lot easier to do than the cordless other Shark vacuums that I have videos of. And if you're interested in other vacuum videos, maybe your friend has a cordless vacuum, more than likely a Dyson or a Shark, check out the playlist below, which will go to all my vacuum videos. I'm still gonna go ahead and build this vacuum video stuff up. It just takes a lot of time. So yeah, let's get into this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and undo the cord here. And then break the vacuum apart into the 3 pieces. Okay, sorry if you hear the dishwasher and washing machine, as it is the weekend. That's the only time I can shoot videos. So what we have is we have our filter here now. Normally the Sharks actually have a pre-filter and secondary filter on the newer models, and you actually have a filter in the back that is for noise. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and wash that down. And if you need replacement filters, I'll put a link below. If your vacuum's really old and you just want to have an extra couple ones on hand, that would probably be the best thing. Now this exhaust filter, it was used for a couple reasons. Well, the main purpose is, well, it's a filter, but it also is to quiet the vacuum down. If you run the vacuum without this filter, you will notice a significant noise increase. And we'll go ahead and just wash this piece down as well real quick. We're going to go ahead and use my favorite spray foam cleaner. Glass cleaner, spray wig. Get it at Walmart. And just a tip, one of the subscribers said, Michael, instead of using one of those toothbrushes, he says, use a paintbrush. I thought, oh my God, I couldn't believe I never thought about that. You know, so what we're going to do is we're going to let the bubbles do its job, and we're going to try to agitate all the dirt and dust with the paintbrush. As you can see, this is why I use the foaming cleaner, is it gets in between all the cracks and crevices of the plastic. Sometimes I'll use scrubbing bubbles, sometimes I'll just use glass cleaner. If you have an animal or a cat or something, I actually would probably use the scrubbing bubbles over the glass cleaner, because it has other ingredients in it that will kill germs or anything of that such inside of it. And for using this thing for 5 years, I just can't believe that the stickers are all still on it. Got just a little bit of dirt in the crevices here, so we're going to spray this down, and I'm just going to set this aside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove our very dirty filter for the unit here. Basically try to fill the filter full of water and then squeeze the dirt out of it. And I had not cleaned this vacuum in quite some time. toward the end here, we're just going to flood the filter out. Then squeeze and squeeze as hard as you can and get as much water out of this filter as possible. Ugh. Then we will just set this aside. Oh, I must have put this filter in second. This filter should have laid on top of the filter like so. And I did not do that. So this is actually, you have your primary and your secondary filter. And as you can see, people do make mistakes. Any other YouTuber would have probably just restarted the whole video. So I had reassembled this vacuum wrong to begin with. Actually, there's 3 layers inside of this. Just two layers. So just kind of spread the filter out like so and flood it out. Then when you're done cleaning it, we're just going to squeeze. And we're going to squeeze. Maybe do a little twist. We're going to squeeze and we're going to twist. Get all the water out of here. And then we'll set this aside as well. Now that we have all of our filter and our lid system set up, we're going to go ahead again and get a small towel like so, and we're just going to get it damp. And when we have it damp, we're going to go toward our head unit here because we don't want a lot of water going in there, and we're just going to wipe this clean. Try to, at least. Then I'm going to come back with that paintbrush. I'm going to get this paintbrush wet and squeeze it out. And then I'm just going to go in and agitate the unit itself. And come around here to the lip. And same thing. Get it all cleaned out. Oh, actually we're going to remove this top cage. On the top of this cage there is 4 screws. We'll go ahead and use a screwdriver and get these out of here. I have never taken this one totally apart. There's one. On removing this top part. The newer Shark equipment, they use Torx heads, and they actually just use regular screws on this. This was bought years ago, so if you go to the Home Depot or somewhere and buy one of these and they're still manufactured, they may have the Torx heads installed instead of screws. So this thing should just come out of there. Just kind of, oh wow, it's going to take the whole mechanism apart. Ugh. That's interesting. Okay, and as you can see, underneath the top of the unit to power it on, was a little plastic plate, and the last screw to remove this is on the top there. So be careful removing that. You need a flathead screwdriver to remove the cover. And then we'll just remove this final screw. Okay, so the power button is lifting with the units itself, which means it's plugged in. Go ahead and get this screw. There we go. So I've got to be careful removing this. And what we'll have here is, oh my God, but oh Jiminy Christmas. Cut. Okay, I don't know how important this is to deep clean this vacuum for you. And there goes my washing machine. But on the back side of the unit itself will be the circuit board to power when you move your switch, to move it up and down. So what we're going to do is there's 2 screws holding this small board down. And make sure if you do this that you watch my video maybe a couple of times so you could see red, black on the one side, blue, black, then to black on the circuit board. But the circuit board actually has electrical insulation pieces over it, so you're probably more than likely not going to unplug that. So there's our switch there. It's actually built really well. And now we have our other piece taken off, and we will proceed to glass clean. Spray this with glass cleaner and then scrub it down. Don't be afraid to do this. If you watch this video step by step, you'll be just fine. It's just a matter of removing screws. So we're gonna go ahead and let this soak in here. And then now that our glass cleaner has soaked, we're gonna go ahead and agitate it. Then I'm going to respray it, and before we rinse it, I will come back and maybe agitate it again. Okay, so like I said, I have never taken this apart. Normally what I would do on these is I would just open the canister, and I did not empty this, and I would clean the canister on the unit itself. But it appears that there is only 1, 2, 3, and 4 screws holding this in, which I'm not 100% sure if that's it or not. And I really don't want to take this apart. The electrical wires appear, it goes from the switch to the head unit to where your posts are. So technically a couple screws removed would drop this, but I don't know if there are any going into the unit this way. I've got to empty the container. Now with the container empty, I personally do not see any screws, but there is so much dirt built up that I'm not sure. So, you know, the lazy way out would be just to show you how to clean it with glass cleaner and brush it, but I'm going to go ahead and remove the screws. Well, I don't actually know if they are screws. They might be Torx heads. Nope, they're Phillips head screws. So you've got two of your posts here. And we're just going to remove our second screw. And these screws appear to be significantly longer. So then on the front of the cup, we've got these two screws here. And they are the same length as the other screws. On the inside here, we have two more on this black piece here. We'll go ahead and remove them as well. And they're a little smaller. If you look to the front here by all these wires here, there's actually a screw holding the plastic there as well. I'll tell you, these sharks, every single one of these sharks I've taken apart has just been very, very screw heavy compared to the Dysons. I really knock on the Dysons because of the plastic that they use, that the Dyson vacuums can't take drops very well, and they don't take drops very well. The inner cyclone system is the first thing on the exterior side to break. You only get 2-3 drops and then those vacuums are broke. But I just don't know if it's worth it because all these sharks are so maintenance heavy. I mean, it is just crazy. Actually appears that I need to remove the front of the piece here, and on this here you have two screws underneath, 1 and 2. We'll go ahead and do that, and once this disconnects, we're going to be careful because of how the wires are run. There's not a lot of play on these wires for movement. They're pretty tight, and I can already feel the plastic piece moving. There we go there. This whole piece, good googly moogly here. Now you got to come to the bottom side and remove the appears to be 4 screws here. I mean, dude, they just really, I mean, they make this so screwed. There are so many screws in this thing. And we haven't even got into the head unit. Okay, these are actually a different type of screw. These are plastic screws with very thick threads. That's a long one. actually think that that screw that I thought I lost bounced into the cut there. Now that should be the final screw. And it's not. You have got to be kidding me. I bet there's something underneath of this rocket. Oh, it holds it together. It's got tabs here that hold the bottom and the top piece together, is what it is. Wow, that's pretty smart. That would set your unit together so you could put screws in it. Okay, there's our spring piece. And our spring. We'll go ahead and set that aside here. And that is the cage that goes inside of the unit. Now, I did not want to do this. Oh, I guarantee there's one screw there underneath of this pad. I bet this pad's glued. I knew it. Set this pad aside. It's pretty sticky. Try not to get dirt on it. And this will be your last screw hiding underneath of the pad. Now it should come apart. Okay. I'm starting to sweat. And now we have two more screws. So we have two more screws in the front. And these have to come out. And then there's even more hidden, there's more hidden screws here. Shark, please. Quit putting all these screws in here. I'll tell you what these screws do. They make it so normal people don't even want to work on these things. You know what it's going to take for me to get all these screws back in? It's going to be a complete nightmare. And there's one more screw here that would not be exposed if you don't remove the top cover. Boy, that thing acts like it's rounded out. It could have got rounded out in the installation process. It isn't moving. Oh boy, just found two more screws. The other screws are on the back side, back here on the motor. Dude, really? Come on, dude. I actually have other things to do today. You know, there's one. I mean, people just don't realize how long it takes to make these videos. Then you're going to go to the other side here and we're going to disconnect two. And that should disconnect the unit, but it's not going to. Because it feels like there's more screws in the bottom of this. Oh, there is. Okay, we have rubber washers. These rubber washers are placed on the top and the bottom side of this part here where these screws are, and for some reason that screw didn't come out. No wonder I couldn't find it. It didn't come out. Okay, dude, god dang it. Okay, Okay, so after examining this, what I see is you have to pull this front plug out, and we have got another screw in the front of this. Like so. And that should pull the front piece off like that. So now we have got the whole front piece removed, like so. But I have not got the cup removed yet. And I don't know what all has to be done here. More screws. So we have got 2 more screws. These absolutely should be the last screws for this cup in the bottom side here. And this is going to remove the whole shebang from the unit itself. At least it better. And if it don't, I'm going to tell you something. I will be handwriting Shark a letter. A handwritten letter. I'll tell you what, Shark needs to give me a goddamn job, is what they need to do. My experience is unmatched for any of these vacuuming and janitorial stuff. They need to make a commercial grade vacuum for commercial grade. Okay, we're gonna move the whole electronic assembly. We're not gonna mess with this. We're gonna move this to the side. And I'm gonna take a break and I'm gonna get some coffee. Okay, what I have decided to do is, now that we have the plastic container completely disassembled, I didn't plan on doing that. We're going to come back at a later date and take the bottom head unit apart after we reassemble this piece. There's so many screws in this system that we need to put the vacuum back together and make sure it works before we go to the head unit. So if you're watching this video, there's going to be 2 parts here. Will be the cleaning and the disassembly and reassembly of the actual unit, and then at the back of the video will be the head unit. So this is a lot more work than what I thought. I counted 30 something screws already. Okay, so we are now to our unit that we have completely removed. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rinse off as much dirt and muck that we can get off first and get it out of here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use our foaming glass cleaner, and we're just going to take this thing from the top to the bottom, and then we're going to let the bubbles go ahead and do its job, and then we're going to come back and agitate the unit itself and agitate the foam and then rinse it out, and then redo it again. So we will just let the foam do its work for a couple minutes here, and then we'll come back. Okay, now that we have let the soap kind of do its thing, or the foaming glass cleaner, now we're going to go back and just agitate. Actually, this paintbrush was a better idea than anything I've ever used. Oh my God, look at how easy it is to get into the crevices. There is some really caked on dirt here. It's going to take multiple scrubbings. I can tell you that right now. So we're just going in, we're agitating the dirt. If you've never cleaned the vacuum before, you're going to have to more than likely do this multiple times. I almost broke this vacuum trying to get it apart. So if you're going to do this, watch this video all the way through. And if you start some of it, start it, stop it, watch what I'm doing. When you go to reassemble it, same thing, start it, stop it, and let the ads run so I get paid. And then you just kind of go from there. This video is going to be long. Now we are going to go back to the scrubbing bubble or foaming glass cleaner. Just let it do its thing. And then same thing, we're just going to let this set for a couple minutes, and then we should be good to go. Okay, now that we have let our glass cleaner soak, again, we're going to come back and spray the unit down. And this should be the final clean for my unit. If your unit was really dirty, it may take 2 or 3 of these, the cleaning here. And then you'll just want to take the brush and make sure that you get the screen clean. really well. There we go. That thing's as clean as it was when it was bought from the store. And actually, to expedite the cleaning process a little bit, I'm just going to wipe all the excess water down. And once all this stuff has dried, I'm coming back and we will reassemble the head unit here, but we're going to let everything air dry first. So I'll be back. I'm going to go ahead and leave and go to the store, but yeah, you won't see that. So we'll just cut back to reassembly. We have to get the bottom side of the cup installed first. So what we'll do is we'll place the cup back in its place here and install our 4 screws that connect it to the body or the motor of the vacuum. Yeah, that one stayed in there. So heck, I didn't even remove that one. This will be 4. We're just going to go back and double check that these 4 are really tight, because this connects your body to the motor. They are. So okay, so let's go ahead and do the bottom part next. So to do the bottom part, we're going to slip underneath of this little pivot point for the bottom of the cup, and we'll slip it in, and then we're going to push up on the back side to get it to snap in like so. Okay, so here's the deal. When you put this together, this piece needs to go underneath of this plastic piece. I'm not refilming it. I got to take it all apart. So before you reassemble this whole unit needs to go in underneath like so. And these wires need to make sure that they're not all tangled up. And get them back in the proper place that they were. Oh, this is frickin' stupid. Knew this thing was going to be a pain in the butt to put back together. I mean, I knew it. There's just too many screws. Do not pinch any of the wires. Your wires are going to run along the right and left side, and there's little slots for the wires to go. need to make sure that you don't pinch the wires and that all the internals all line up with the vacuum here. And we're going to go ahead and put that one screw back into the deep part of this. Okay, that should hold it pretty much together. And we had one screw that was left over in the top here. We'll go ahead and try to re-thread that one into that housing. And it went in. Then we're gonna push our piece back in. And then reinstall our two small screws for the connector piece to the wand. There's one. Now we're going to number 2 on the front here. Okay, that's going to hold our, and now we're going to come back and I'm going to reinstall the screws on the back side. Remember, when you do this, was we had our rubber seals, one on each side here. Now the 4 screws that went into the bottom of this were the larger, deeper threaded screws that were made for plastic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that all the wires are not going to be bound up on this bottom side. And I'm not for certain if the long ones went in the front or it appears that the long ones would more than likely go in the back of the unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these longer ones into the back of the unit. Maybe. Actually, what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and tighten the front ones into the housing of the motor. And this is going to keep everything, for the most part, tight. And the short ones are what go in here onto the front. Like so. Okay, so now that we have the front screws in, we're going to take these longer screws and we're going to go ahead and thread this in. And once it's threaded in, we're going to kind of pull it out and we're going to install one of the rubber washers on the front. And then we're going to push our screw through the top of it. And then we're going to put our rubber washer on the top of the screw to get it ready to go into the housing. So on this side here, we're going to insert our screw, put our rubber washer down in there, get the screw to go through the bottom piece. And then once the screw goes in, we're going to put our rubber washer as well on the top piece. And now what we're going to do is very carefully, without pinching the wires, we're going to get our cup ready to go here. And get our cup in place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to screw. It looks like we lost one. We'll go ahead and start threading our screws into the housing. And don't tighten these up all the way. We're just going to get them to where the screw pulls the housing down. Like so, and we're going to flip our unit over to the other side. Same thing, we're going to push our pieces back together like so. And what you might have to do is on these back two screws to get those cover pieces on, you might have to loosen them a little bit like so. Okay, so now we have our front piece on, and you'll see the black and yellow wire will run along the tops here and dip down, and there's little grooves cut in here, and same thing with the red, white, and blue wire. There's little notches here, and it'll run toward the front of the cup. Try to get them in the grooves, because when we put our head plastic piece back on, it's gonna make a difference here. And there's not a lot of play in these wires. They're cut pretty short, so they're made specifically to run into the molding of the plastic. So I think we've got them where they need to go. And now what we'll do is we'll start reinstalling some of our screws. We're going to put our two front tab screws in first. It's hard to remember what goes where. And then don't forget we had a screw hidden underneath of this pad, and it was a real short one as well. We are going to put the next two on the back post here, these two. And those were a little bit longer. There's one. So what we're going to do now is we're going to reinstall our plastic piece here, and what you'll have is you will have a little piece of foam there, and it's got the indentation of a round circle, and on the inside of the housing is a little round circle. So that tells me that the foam piece will drop in like so with the X facing up. So the spring will go into there over the X like so. We're going to reinstall that, and then we have got our other seal piece here. Ah, fudge. Well, great. And we'll reinstall our plastic piece. These will take 2 smaller screws and to hold that spring piece down, and then get the screw in there. Once you get one side screwed in, you'll be okay. It'll hold the other side. Have a smaller screw which will go on the inside. Okay, so it appears that I actually did not put 2 screws in, but I'm be honest with you, I'm not doing it over again. I've already got 3 hours in taking this unit apart, and there were 2 screws in the head unit for this piece here that I you know, after I'm touching this, it looks like it's a little bit of overkill, because the plastic piece here is already held in and everything is nice and tight. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not taking this thing apart again. So when you put this front piece on, there's 2 screws that run in this way. You need to put those in before everything snaps in together. So yeah, I'm not doing it. So now we're gonna go to our top piece here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna move our switch all the way forward, because we have our 1 screw on our back plate here. So we're gonna wanna line that up with the switch. And once it's lined up, we're going to put our 2 small screws into the switch housing here. And after you get this first one in, it'll hold it, and then flip it over to the next side and put the other one in. And after you put these in, just make sure that the switch engages properly. Now we're going to go ahead and put our plastic housing, and be careful with the wires. And we're going to put our plastic housing back into the unit and put our screw in the back side here first. Like so. And then we're going to come in and put our 4 top side screws into the unit. Oops. Come on. There we go. We'll get it started. this is our final screw. Okay, with our filters dry, we're going to reassemble our back plate here, like so. And then reinstall our filters, making sure that they're dry. And pray that I got this thing together correctly. Oh, no, we're not. We've got to put this. We've got to put this little piece back in on the back side here. I forgot all about that. There we go. And it just snaps in. Make sure this thing works. This vacuum was going to be this much work. I had no idea. Hey, all right. Okay. Now we're going to take apart the head unit. Okay, we are on the head unit here, and we just have 3 pieces to undo here. And that should have unlocked this plate. This thing's a mess. Okay, here we go. So what we're going to do is we have our plate here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get that out of the way. We're going to soak this down, remove all the excess dirt that we can off of this right away. One of the wheels are stuck, so we're going to go ahead and remove this. You just take a flathead screwdriver and we're going to pry these up, and it's going to pop the wheel out. Might have to go from the front. There's a lot of rust on this. Oh, there we go. And there'll be a felt washer. It's really rusted. It's definitely got into some water. So we're actually going to go from the front and pry it out. And this is the one here on the left that's stuck. It's not moving at all. Basically, I've gone over probably a wet surface, and we'll take care of that here in a second. So what we're going to do, as usual, is we're just going to spray this down. And let the foaming glass cleaner do its job. We're going to have a lot of screws here. I have never taken this apart, so we will probably, well, we'll start from the front side, and we have 2 screws here. There's one. And we'll work our way to the back of the unit, and we will just keep going here. on these screws. There's one in the center here that is gonna hold probably the plastic clear cover, and that one is a different size than the other ones that I have been working on. Looks like there's two here next to the wheels. It's a smaller one. Then we have two more on the back side here. Actually, this looks like this. It actually appears that this is going to be pretty easy to take apart. Well, there really isn't any more screws here. Screw, it is a screw. There'll be one more screw in here on the side. It was rusted. I thought it was the same color orange, but it's not. That should release the whole body here. And it's not coming apart. It looks like the plastic cover just snaps together. Whoa. I really wasn't expecting that. We're going to immediately take off this clip here. This, I'll be honest with you, this whole setup here this whole setup is pretty much the same, besides some probably little differences, as all the new vacuums. I mean, the new cordless vacuums, the motor and the belt is set up the same way, and you just have your motor, like go to my playlist and you'll see the cordless Shark vacuum models that I've worked on and taken apart, and this essentially is the original setup, and I don't think Shark has really gotten away from this type of build. I mean, the circuit board's on the left. They added a LED strip to the newer models. The motor's on the right, the belt is on the right, and it looks like we're just going to remove 4 screws here. And the plastic cover, they just kind of changed a few things. But, you know, if something isn't broke, don't fix it. The design of this is, I thought this was going to be a little bit different, but it's really not. It's about the same as the newer models. It's pretty close. That belt should just I don't know if I'm going to have to remove the motor or not. I don't even think I'm going to have to remove the motor. No, I'm not. There's a screw that this cover is kind of underneath of the motor. Wow, that was actually, this, if you're watching this and you're like, wow, that's a lot of work, this actually isn't that bad to take this apart. They didn't really make this serviceable on the roller, because you should be able to pop one of these caps off and the roller will be removed. But they didn't leave a notch in here. The fittings for the roller are just pressed into the housing and they're not meant to be removed. I kind of want to remove them, but I don't think I'm going to be able to, because they're pressed in. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to clean this whole piece here by itself. For the most part, we're not even going to touch the motor and assembly. We just need to clean this part. And before we move any farther, we'll just get this piece cleaned up and set aside to get it to start to dry. And it's pretty dirty. So we're going to go ahead and spray this down again. Same thing, set it aside. As for this roller piece, I'm going to go ahead and go get my razor blade. What we're going to do is I have a razor knife here, and we're just going to come in and very gently cut all the strands of carpet fibers that we have here. And once we do that, it will loosen this up to where I should just be able to pull all these off of here. And if you don't have these bristles clean on this roller, it really can affect the cleaning ability of this vacuum. They went with a straight bristle 2 style where it's a very stiff bristle. You can use this on carpet or tile, which is good, but the bristle system is pretty basic. But just because it's basic doesn't mean that it's not a good vacuum. This is an extremely good value for the money now. If you could pick one of these up or see these at a yard sale, pick it up just to have an extra vacuum around the house if you don't mind having a corded model. These stick vacuums are really good, and the build quality and the plastic on this particular model is just incredible. They really used high quality parts on this. Okay, so the inner bearing system is sealed, so we're going to go ahead and get this wet. Try to avoid getting too much water toward the belt. As this system has what's called a sealed bearing set. And now we're going to come back and flood it out with foam cleaner. And hopefully the foam will start penetrating some of the dirt underneath of the roller. Okay, so we've let that soak for a couple seconds, minutes, whatever, and we will just brush it down. And it appears that the paintbrush will get all up in the top side here, which is awesome. Go from the back side. Wow, you can actually see through this now. Couldn't even see the plastic roller. Well, you ain't gonna believe it. The roller actually, the plug just came off. So I am, look at the plug, I can't believe that just came off like that. I'm not 100% sure why that came off. But we're actually going to put that back on, and there was a small metal spacer there, and it goes on the shaft, and then the plug will press back in. If that happens, I actually would just put it back together and get it sealed up. Okay, we are going to spray this down one more time and let it set. Now we're going to go back to the motor assembly here. This is a little bit dirty, so what we're going to do is we have a damp cloth now, and we're going to take the damp cloth and we're going to wipe the excess dirt off. We're not going to spray this with anything. We're just going to wipe the excess dirt away. If you have a can duster, maybe come in with that and spray the board and the internal parts. Other than that, I don't recommend getting this very wet. And we'll flip it over. I know there's going to be some excess dirt on the back side. If you want to go to a thorougher, more process and take the internal hose apart, you can. Look at that, I got a clog in this thing. No, just a little bit. And we're just going to wipe this down. The inside of this hose. We're not going to take the hose apart. We're going to give our brush head one final cleaning here. One final spray. Also, we'll go ahead, we do have a little dirt. We're going to take our same damp rag and just wipe off the top of the housing This isn't majorly wet. There is a little light board here, so I'm not going to spray this entirely down. This little bit of dampness will get everything wiped up and cleaned up. The top really isn't that dirty. Okay, the one thing that we are going to have to address here is the wheels. And I cannot get this one unstuck. I'm not 100% sure if I will be able to get it unstuck. It is extremely rusted. These pliers and try to, don't want to destroy that felt pad. There we go. Well, the wheel is just made of plastic, but the rod is not. Now that we have everything pretty much cleaned up and dried out, we're just gonna put this vacuum back together. That will kind of snap in place, and the belt is just going to go over the motor. And we're just going to make sure that we got all 4 of our screw holes lined up, which we do. Okay, now that our motor is pretty much dried out and our front assembly is dried out, we're going to go ahead and reinstall this. Now you'll have to remember that the front of the plate goes underneath of that little bitty of the motor, and there's a groove on the top here that this plastic piece will sit in the orange molding of the unit itself. And once you get this front piece hooked up to the rear piece, just make sure that your 4 screw holes are properly lined up and that we have our belt on our front pulley. And we're just going to take our fingers and kind of pull this belt just a little bit over to the motor assembly. And then we will reinstall our first 4 screws. The head unit was actually fairly easy to clean here, and I apologize for the lighting in this video. Oh, well, we'll have to re-plug in our circuit board onto our board here. We're just going to snap it in. Like so. Make sure it's connected. And then we will take our head unit and try to get it to snap back together. And you'll hear everything kind of go together. Starting with our center screw here. And it looks like the fitment isn't very well, but I believe it's actually made for the screws to pull the plastic casing together. And put our this was our rusted screw, our last screw, in here. be 2 in the front plate. Our final screw. Then we will reinstall our plate here and then lock it into place with our 3 tabs. Oh, our wheels. We'll have to clean. I gotta finish the wheels. So the metal rods and the wheels are in really bad shape. The whole objective here is for me just to get the wheel to turn on the shaft. That's all I need it to do. And that gun cleaner is actually, it's cleaned this up. But these rods are really rusted. Is on these metal rods here, the felt piece is going to go toward the outside of the unit, so we're just going to put our wheel back on, and we've freed up enough of the rust that we're now getting a free movement on this. And I'm not for sure. I think these ought to just press in there. Might have to beat them in. You want to take a flathead screwdriver on each side of the wheel and just beat it into the plastic housing to seat the wheel. So that one is turning freely. There goes my headphone. So we'll go ahead and put this one in as well. And just get them seated in there. And if we get lucky, it'll turn on. Okay, so now is the test. Got my light on. Is the test here to see if this thing's gonna even work. I know it worked before I took it apart. Now we will see if the head unit works. Good. Okay, thanks for watching. If you want to see more vacuum videos, maybe your friends or family or somebody has a handheld vacuum, Dyson or Shark Power, go to the playlist below. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll be back hopefully soon. I got a few more vacuums, and then with the amount of time that it took me to do this vacuum, I think I'm going to have to lay off the vacuums for a while. I have motorcycles and ATV stuff that I have to do. So thanks for watching. I'm out of here.